Right now, somewhere beneath the crystal blue waters of the Caribbean, a ghost is moving. Silent, invisible, deadly. The USS Newport News, a nuclear-powered attack submarine capable of launching cruise missiles with surgical precision, is prowling the depths just miles from Venezuela's coastline. Above the surface, an armada unlike anything this region has seen in decades is taking position. 7 major warships, over 2,000 combat-ready Marines, enough firepower to level coastal cities or intercept ballistic missiles mid-flight. This isn't a routine patrol. This isn't a training exercise. Something is happening in the Caribbean, and the world is watching to see who blinks first. The fleet's arrival didn't happen by accident. Days ago, the USS Lake Erie, a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser bristling with advanced weaponry, emerged from the Panama Canal and immediately took up station in the southern Caribbean. This wasn't some aging relic dusted off for show. The Lake Erie represents the cutting edge of naval warfare, equipped with the Aegis combat system that can track hundreds of targets simultaneously while coordinating defensive and offensive operations across the entire battle space. Its vertical launch system holds a deadly variety of weapons, long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles capable of striking targets hundreds of miles inland, surface-to-air missiles designed to swat threats from the sky, and anti-ship weapons that can sink enemy vessels before they close within visual range. This cruiser has proven itself in live-fire tests, successfully intercepting ballistic missile targets in previous missions. When a ship like this positions itself in your neighborhood, it's not making a courtesy call. But the Lake Erie isn't operating alone. 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers have joined the formation, creating a steel ring of overwhelming combat power. The USS Gravely, USS Jason Dunham, and USS Sampson form the protective screen around the cruiser, each one a technological marvel in its own right. These destroyers carry the same Aegis system, linking their radar and weapons into a unified network that makes the entire fleet exponentially more lethal than the sum of its parts. Each destroyer packs vertical launch cells loaded with standard missiles for air defense, Tomahawks for land attack, and anti-submarine rockets for hunting threats beneath the waves. Their advanced sonar systems can detect submarine contacts at extreme ranges, while their powerful radar arrays can spot incoming aircraft or missiles long before they become a danger. If the Lake Erie is the quarterback calling plays, these destroyers are the offensive line, ready to block any threat or push forward with devastating strikes of their own. Yet it's what lurks beneath the surface that truly changes the equation. The USS Newport News represents a dimension of warfare that most people never see and can barely imagine. Nuclear-powered fast-attack submarines like this one operate in a realm of absolute silence and total lethality. They don't need to surface for weeks at a time. They move through the ocean depths without making a sound, their sophisticated sonar listening to everything while remaining virtually undetectable themselves. The Newport News carries Tomahawk cruise missiles that can be launched from underwater, streaking toward land targets with pinpoint accuracy, while the submarine remains hidden miles away. It also carries heavyweight torpedoes, weapons capable of breaking a surface ship in half before its crew even realizes they're under attack. Submariners call their vessels the silent service for good reason. While the surface ships above project visible strength, this submarine adds an element of psychological warfare. Every naval commander in the region knows it's down there somewhere, listening, tracking, ready to strike. But nobody knows exactly where. That uncertainty alone is a weapon.
The amphibious component of this deployment adds yet another layer of capability. The Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group consists of 3 massive ships specifically designed to project Marines and their equipment from sea to shore. At the center is the USS Iwo Jima itself, an amphibious assault ship that resembles a small aircraft carrier. Its flight deck can operate helicopters, tilt-rotor Osprey aircraft, and even vertical takeoff jets if the situation demands. Below decks, it houses a complete Marine expeditionary unit, more than 2,000 Marines with their vehicles, weapons, and supplies. These aren't just troops on a ship. They're a rapid response force trained for everything from humanitarian evacuations to full-scale amphibious assaults. Accompanying the Iwo Jima are the USS San Antonio and USS Fort Lauderdale, both amphibious transport docks designed to launch landing craft and amphibious vehicles directly into contested waters. Together, these three ships form a flexible strike group capable of putting significant combat power ashore anywhere in the region within hours. When you pair this marine force with the heavy naval firepower overhead and the hidden submarine below, you're looking at a multi-dimensional military package that can respond to almost any scenario. The aerial component completes this picture of total battlefield dominance. High above the Caribbean, P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft are crisscrossing the region, their advanced sensors scanning everything from surface ships to submerged submarines to small vessels trying to slip through unnoticed. These aircraft are essentially flying command centers, capable of coordinating the actions of ships below while maintaining their own offensive capabilities. The P-8 can drop torpedoes to hunt enemy submarines, launch anti-ship missiles against surface targets, and provide real-time intelligence to the entire fleet. With these eyes in the sky, nothing moves in or around this region without the U.S. Navy knowing about it. The surveillance net is so comprehensive that even small fishing boats can't escape detection. So why now? Why this massive show of force in waters that have remained relatively quiet for years? The official explanation frames this as a regional security operation, focused on protecting maritime routes and ensuring stability. But anyone paying attention to the geopolitical landscape knows there's more to this story. Venezuela, under the leadership of Nicolás Maduro, has been experiencing internal turmoil, disputed elections, and increasing international isolation. The country sits atop some of the world's largest oil reserves, and its strategic position on South America's northern coast makes it a pivot point for regional influence. This naval deployment sends multiple messages simultaneously. To Caracas, it's a demonstration that Washington can project overwhelming force whenever and wherever it chooses. To regional allies, it's reassurance that the United States remains committed to hemisphere security. To potential adversaries watching from afar, it's a reminder that American naval power can appear anywhere on the planet with little warning. The sheer scale of this deployment rivals the entire naval capability of many nations. 7 major surface combatants, plus a nuclear submarine, represent more firepower than most countries can muster across their entire military. The combined vertical launch systems on these ships hold hundreds of missiles, covering every conceivable mission profile. Tomahawk cruise missiles can reach targets several hundred miles inland, turning coastal facilities into rubble with precision strikes. Standard missiles provide an umbrella of air defense capable of intercepting aircraft, cruise missiles, and even ballistic missiles during their flight. Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles and rapid-fire Phalanx Glosin weapon systems create layers of defense that make the fleet nearly impervious to air attack. Below the surface, the submarine's torpedoes add anti-ship and anti-submarine capabilities that operate entirely outside the awareness of potential adversaries. And those 2,000 Marines bring the capability to extend naval power onto land, securing ports, protecting civilians, or seizing objectives as needed.
Venezuela's response has been predictable but revealing. State media has condemned the deployment as imperial aggression and a violation of sovereignty, painting the American presence as an existential threat. Government officials have called it intimidation and gunboat diplomacy, though their ability to do anything about it remains severely limited. Venezuela's own naval forces pale in comparison to this American armada. While Caracas might possess patrol boats and a few aging frigates, they lack any realistic capability to challenge this concentration of U.S. naval power. The psychological impact of seeing this fleet positioned just beyond territorial waters cannot be overstated. It's a constant reminder of the vast gap in military capability and the limited options available to the Venezuelan government. But limited options don't mean no options, and Venezuela has several potential responses that could escalate this situation in dangerous ways. The most immediate tool at Maduro's disposal is diplomatic warfare.
Venezuela could appeal to international bodies like the United Nations or the Organization of American States, framing the American deployment as a threat to regional peace. More significantly, Caracas could deepen its strategic partnerships with Russia and China, both of which have invested heavily in Venezuela and view American military presence in the hemisphere as a provocation. Russia has previously sent bombers and warships to Venezuela for joint exercises, a symbolic gesture that nonetheless sent shockwaves through Washington. If Putin decides to respond in kind to this American deployment, we could see Russian naval vessels or aircraft arriving in Venezuelan waters within weeks, transforming a regional show of force into a great power confrontation reminiscent of Cold War brinksmanship. Venezuela could also activate asymmetric responses that don't require matching American firepower directly. The country maintains relationships with irregular armed groups throughout the region, and while direct state sponsorship is difficult to prove, it wouldn't be unprecedented for these networks to suddenly become more active. Smuggling operations could intensify, drug trafficking routes could shift to challenge American interdiction efforts, or maritime incidents involving commercial vessels could create diplomatic complications. Venezuela might also restrict or threaten oil exports, a move that would hurt its own economy but could send ripples through global energy markets and complicate American diplomatic efforts with oil-dependent allies. On the military front, Venezuela's options are constrained but non-existent. The country operates Russian-made S-300 air defense systems, sophisticated missiles capable of engaging aircraft at long range. While these systems couldn't threaten the American fleet directly, their activation would create an anti-access bubble that complicates any potential air operations. Venezuela also possesses anti-ship missiles, including the Chinese-made C-802, which could theoretically target surface vessels if hostilities actually erupted. These missiles wouldn't penetrate the defensive shields of Aegis-equipped cruisers and destroyers under normal circumstances, but they represent a threat that must be taken seriously. In a worst-case scenario, Venezuela could mine its own coastal waters, creating navigational hazards that would force American ships to maintain greater distance and complicate any potential amphibious operations. Perhaps most concerning is the possibility of miscalculation or accident. Venezuelan patrol boats regularly operate in these waters, and a close encounter with American warships could trigger an incident neither side intended. A nervous Venezuelan coastal defense unit might fire on what it perceives as a threatening aircraft or vessel. An American submarine tracking Venezuelan naval movements could be detected and misidentified as a prelude to attack. History shows that great power confrontations often escalate not through deliberate decisions, but through mistakes, misunderstandings, and split-second judgments made by personnel operating under enormous stress. The more assets both sides deploy in close proximity, the greater the risk that someone makes a choice that spirals beyond anyone's control.
Neighboring countries are watching this situation unfold with a mixture of interest and concern. Colombia, which shares a lengthy border with Venezuela, has maintained a careful diplomatic stance while quietly welcoming increased American security presence in the region. Caribbean island nations, many of which depend on maritime trade routes that pass through these waters, see both opportunity and risk. Increased naval patrols might enhance security against smuggling and piracy, but they also raise the possibility of confrontation and instability. Cuba, maintaining its own complicated relationship with both Venezuela and the United States, has remained conspicuously quiet about the deployment, perhaps calculating that direct commentary would only draw unwanted attention. The question hanging over this entire situation is what happens next. Will this fleet remain on station indefinitely, creating a new normal of heavy American naval presence in the Caribbean? Could additional forces be added, perhaps including an aircraft carrier strike group that would multiply the fleet's striking power several times over? Or is this a temporary surge designed to send a message before gradually drawing down? Military analysts note that sustaining this level of deployment requires significant resources and careful planning. Ships need fuel, supplies, and maintenance. Crews need rest. The longer this continues, the more expensive and logistically challenging it becomes. Yet the strategic message being sent here is so powerful that it might be worth the cost. What makes this deployment particularly significant is its timing and composition. This isn't just a single ship passing through on routine patrol. This is a carefully assembled task force bringing together surface combatants, submarine assets, amphibious forces, and air support into a unified package capable of executing virtually any mission. That kind of integration requires planning, coordination, and clear strategic purpose. Naval forces don't just appear in concentrated formations by accident. Someone made the decision to send this much capability to this specific location at this particular moment. Understanding why requires looking beyond the immediate tactical situation to the broader strategic picture of American power projection, regional stability, and the message being sent not just to Venezuela, but to the entire hemisphere and beyond. As this situation continues to develop, every action and reaction will be scrutinized for signals about what comes next. Will there be a diplomatic breakthrough that allows both sides to step back from the brink? Could miscalculation or accident trigger a crisis that spirals beyond anyone's control? Or will this simply settle into a tense but manageable standoff, with American forces maintaining their position while Venezuelan authorities adjust to the new reality? The Caribbean, long seen as a relatively stable region, has suddenly become a theater where great power dynamics, regional politics, and military capability converge in ways that could reshape the entire hemisphere's security landscape for years to come. The ghost beneath the waves keeps hunting, the warships above maintain their watch, and the world waits to see what happens when overwhelming force meets unyielding resistance in the warming waters of the Caribbean.